Because the one thing I hate the most is when I see a black person discriminate on anything else.
Right.
Like, you have enough to deal with as a black person. How dare you?
Right. We should be
How dare you?
We should be the most accepting community.
The most accepting.
Aliyah Niambi is an alternative R&B artist. She started off playing trumpet, but then she became a vocalist, and then she combined the two into what she calls electro voice. As a singer, songwriter, and producer, she definitely found her own niche. Aliyah is also an activist. She used her social media to organize a blackout, which was a strategic effort to show the power of the black economy. I always enjoyed discussing things with Aliyah because she has such a unique perspective.
The perfect storm to me, music is the highest. I got this love, my people is the likest. I'm fly, I'm black. I remain consistent, spin viral the track. Even when y'all was down at me, I had to dig into the root, I can't blame ya. That's what trying to follow suit.
Yeah, so I'm putting together.
It used to be the hood.
It used to be the hood.
Yeah, brought you to gentrified Philly, man, at its finest down the bottom.
It is true. All these colleges bought out.
Man, this used to be like, you could definitely get a bump in this park back in the day. Now you can't do shit.
Not no more. Alright, so we're here with Aliyah Niambi for another Voodoo Man Sessions. She is an artist, activist, producer, musician. She wears many hats. She does so many things. And so how's everything going with you? What's going on?
Man, everything is good. I'm in a beautiful space right now in life. I'm trying to figure out all those different things, how to put them together for one thing.
Right.
You know,
it is difficult to package everything.
Right.
So I've known her for many years. We're childhood friends. We grew up and we lost contact for a minute, but we both ended up making music, which was interesting. I want you to talk real quick about your brand of music, because it's very unique.
Right.
What you do and how you utilize your vocals as an instrument.
Right.
So I mean, you would explain it better than I could.
So from the beginning, I've always been an instrumentalist. So my father, he was a music teacher in Camden. So I learned trumpet, piano, drums, clarinet, saxophone from a very early age. And that kind of grew into my love for jazz, which led me to go to school in New York for trumpet.
Right.
Somewhere along the line, me and trumpet had like a disagreement. It was like, you know what, this relationship is kind of over, but I learned a lot from you. And I took that into what I call now the electro voice, which is, like you said, I use a pedal. I do a lot of electronic vocals with that. I mean, it's something that kind of happened by accident, honestly. A good friend of mine was just like, yo, you need to start writing your own songs. And I was like, man, okay. And then I was like, all right, well, you sing them though.
Right.
And then he was like, nah, but you sing them. So then, I opened up Logic 7, I think it was at the time. Right. And I started playing with a lot of plugins, came across auto-tune. And at the time, everybody hated auto-tunes. Like T-Pain was the epitome of auto-tune, right? But for me, it was like auto-tune never became something that you could use musically. So what I did was I took my jazz background, auto-tune, and I merged them. And to me, it's like the vocal version of me playing trumpet, but with all these effects from my voice. Right,
which is why it sounds so musical. Like, it doesn't sound, because when most people hear auto-tune, they think like, oh, I know what that is. Right. When you hear what she does, it's completely different. I think it's funny, one of the things I keep talking about is ownership of music. Like, jazz is a black art form. Right. That a lot of people, like when you think of jazz, you don't think of black artists, black audiences, or anything.
Not anymore.
And so, you coming from a jazz background is very interesting. Because, I mean, if you ask a kid today, like, no one listens to jazz, really.
No.
And I don't think that they realize that could happen in hip-hop, too.
Right.
Like, it's happening in hip-hop as we're watching it. Like, we owned it, we started jazz, started rock and roll, we started blues. What do you think we can do to help people remember that ownership of culture is important.
Here's the fall off. Our parents played records for us from their generation.
Right.
Parents now don't play records from their generation. They're listening to the same thing their kids are listening to.
That's very true.
So that passing down of heritage has stopped somehow. And that's something we gotta fix. I mean, and that's so simple to fix. It's like, yo, play records from the 90s. Like, if I'm around kids, you're gonna know who Mr. was.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're gonna sing some Blackberry Molasses.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's what raised me in my era. But you should also know what came before me.
Right.
That's what makes our music sound the way it does too.
That musical education is lacking in the home.
In the home.
That's an interesting point, because I never really thought about it. You know, I grew up with all type of music, like all type of music in the house. So I mean, I didn't really have a choice. So my upbringing's a little bit different.
Right.
But that is very true. You know, all these parents, everybody doing the Shiggy challenge. And
right.
Like you got the kids doing it and the parents doing it. And I think that's good to bridge that gap. And but you also have to show them where you came from, and show them the lineage of music, and get them interested in that.
Exactly.
Let's talk about real quick some of the activist sides of what you did, what you do. You started, when I first started to realize like you were really about that life, was when you started that Facebook group to support Philando. And it started off real small. I think like
6 people.
Yeah, like I was like, I think like 50, when it was like 25 to 50, I joined in because I knew you. Like I was like, oh, let's see what this is about, because we need to do something. So I was hopping in different groups, but you were consistent. You were posting messages daily, and it grew to like almost 20,000 people.
Right.
What made you want to do that?
It's funny because 2 days before Philando got killed, I was sitting in the kitchen with my buddy in the studio, and I was like, man, what is it going to take for people to like see what's happening? Like a dude with a licensed gun. Right. Like I had just said the same scenario that happened to Philando, and then Philando happened. It's like my man has a license, he's licensed to carry, and he still gets gunned down like an animal. So from there, it was like, yo, I got to do something. And to me, the one thing that people of color fail to realize is our key to this whole thing is our labor. They brought us here for our labor. Nothing else they wanted but your labor. Right. So if you take that power back with your labor, then you can start making some noise. That's how you really affect dollars. Because if nobody of color shows up to work for one whole day, you shut down America. Right, yeah. You don't have to go shopping. I'm not asking you to don't go shopping. I'm asking you to just stay home and chill. Right. So I asked for everybody to stay home the day before our national election, which Trump, eventually won. And we did a series of events in the community. I was living in Jersey City at the time, so I did a bunch of stuff in the Bronx with a bunch of friends and organizers there. I actually spoke with a group of it's called the European Descent Group. Okay. At the Jewish Community Center in Times Square. So I'm talking to a room full of white people who are like converted racists. Right. They're trying to, they understand they have a problem. Right. So they need to talk about it and get it together. And I appreciated that group. And eventually, life happens for me, and the group still is in existence. We still post stuff daily. Right. I don't do as many videos, but we're still here. We're still kicking. We're still making noise. Yeah, I think it was. It did a lot in organizing and helping to give a voice. And I think it also proved that you didn't have a particular background in politics. No. But it proved what a regular citizen or artist could do. Right. Just by being passionate, right? Just by wanting to see things change. It's interesting that you talk about the Philando case, because there's another national case where they said a guy was acting like he had a weapon. Right. What is that? What does that? I don't know what that means. It's insulting. Just call it what it is. Right. I don't like it. You don't like it, but just tell me just say the truth. Well, I do think that's what's interesting about Trump's America. Yeah. I actually in a
good. In a weird way, it's a good thing.
Right.
Because I'd rather see the people who are opposing freedom. I'd rather see the opposition than to be hidden. Because I think for so long, because when they were hidden, everyone was complacent, and we started focusing on other things, and it wasn't so much a community effort; it became an individual effort. Exactly. And I think now we're realizing we have to work collectively if we want to see major changes, even in your individual life. Like you need the help of your community, you need the support of your community. And so what do you think about, you know, the whole Trump effect?
It's interesting because I am one of the people most black folks will blame for Trump being in office because I voted third party. Because like you said, I like to see who my enemy is. I know who Trump is. Right. I also know who Hillary is, and there's far more Americans that are like a Hillary that are detrimental to my community. That passive aggressive racism, that those people that are silent. Right. That's the community that Hillary represented. So people will blame me for voting third party because now we have Trump, but honestly, I do think it's good for America because we were complacent, and now he's making the rest of us angry enough to do something about it.
Well, I mean, he's disrupting the comfort of so many people. Well, him and his policies, and those who agree with him are disrupting the comfort of, you know, those who were complacent to allow things to, you know, they might say like, oh, you know, that's bad. You know, the cops shooting that guy's bad, but they weren't willing, they weren't willing to say anything or go vote. But now it's getting to the point where they have to do something because it's affecting them too. Yeah. And they're seeing just how blatant it is. And I do think, I was with you on the Bernie thing. We performed at the DNC for a pro Bernie rally. Yeah. So we was out there with it too. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting time in America. And I think a lot of people are afraid, but I actually see this as because to me, you can't fix a problem you haven't diagnosed. Right. You can't fix the problem until you see what it really is and how deep it goes. Right. And while we may have known that, a few years ago, I think the rest of the country is finally coming to that awareness. Right. And that's
not all of us know that. That's the other issue.
That could be true,
what I'm saying? Because that's where I find the difficulty in activism. It's like there's a small section of us that's about this life. The rest of us just want to assimilate and move on. We don't really want to deal in these problems. We're not willing to really give up nothing. We'll talk about it. We'll be upset, emotional about it. Right. But when it comes down to, would I die for this? Right. Not really about that life, because that's what you're saying. You know?
Well, yeah. You have to. Well, that's why I think it's important for them to be uncomfortable. Because once you're uncomfortable, then now you're willing to do something different to bring back that level of comfort.
Exactly.
And it's crazy times. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. Before I get there, what do you think that black music and black art is doing to affect change? Because I like the music, but I don't think it reflects. Like if you look at the 60s or 70s when there was a lot of social unrest, that the art that was being created by black artists, it was a lot different. It was a lot more topical. It was a lot more about what was actually happening, what was going on, and it was from major artists to mid-level artists. It was everybody was talking about it. I don't see that as much now. You have a few people that will make a song here and there, but I don't feel like our community is making that art.
And that's what I was saying about the number of people who are actually about this life. It goes into music also. If the masses want to hear trap songs, they're gonna make trap songs. If the masses want this or that, you know what I mean? They're not really, because the masses aren't ready right now for a song of those magnitudes.
But see, here I look at it like this. I look at it like if they do want to hear trap music, but what if the trap music was conscious or about something else? Because it's not like when Marvin made What's Going On, he was one of the biggest stars in the country. And he didn't say, I'm not going to make an R&B album. He was still singing, it was still melodic, but the subject matter was different. He did take a different approach, like musically, or Curtis Mayfield. They didn't change everything they did to make a message. They just put the message in the
song,
music.
right.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what I'm missing. Like I don't understand.
But that still goes into that. You can't change where people come from. You come from a cloth of conscious awareness. Your folks raised you that way. You know what I'm saying? There's people that are from right up here that have no clue who Marcus Garvey is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they're going to gravitate and grow up and make the music that is not going to educate the masses. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But that's just where we are. And people still buy it.
Mm-hmm.
The other problem is that where the money's at, which pretty much drives people now too, because a lot of these kids, they just want to get rich.
Right.
They want to get rich.
And I can't knock anybody's pursuit for their livelihood, but
I can't either. But if your first love for it is to get rich off of it, man, I have to question your
authenticity. Yeah, it's not about the love of the art.
No, because I told my mom early in life I'm gonna starve for this. So
right.
Just throw me a couple dollars here and there, save me.
Yeah, because I don't know why people would want to get into music for money right now. Anyway, because it's crazy.
It's mad hard.
It's a crazy industry. Like you're looking at the top 1%. If you're looking at the people that are just balling out, living comfortable, like that's not how most musicians have lived
at all.
I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this, because I think that we need art that talks about Marcus Garvey, that talks about the history of Africa, because I think that's an interesting thing. Like people don't know African history at all. Right. Like our education system does a terrible job, and I think it's intentional, of educating people about who black people are. Right. Like our history does not start with slavery. No. It doesn't start with the world didn't start with Western civilization. Right. Like it started in Africa. Like that's where civilization began. Right. They try to separate Egypt from Africa.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I called this project Voodoo Man. Voodoo, right? To most people, when they hear the word voodoo, they think black magic, evil, zombies. Mm-hmm. Like that's how they portray it. Right. But when you look at the history of that, it's just a West African religion that was mostly about honoring your ancestors. Right. The other interesting thing about it is it also, when Haiti was bringing in Africans to do their whole slave thing in Haiti, it wasn't until they really looked at voodoo. Right. And they remembered the voodoo, and the voodoo priest started telling them like, look, we don't come from Christianity, and they kind of switched over, that they started to turn the tide and freed themselves. Mm-hmm. Which most people don't even know that about Haiti, that they were the first place to free themselves from bondage. Right. And from there it made its way all the way to the Americas, but we don't know that. Right. We don't know that ourselves. Right. So how can we expect other people to know that? And they misuse a lot of our terminology, and
for negative.
Yeah.
Which voodoo is just what they do now with the news, like black on black crime. Right. Put a guy's mug shot up before they put up any other picture.
Right. Exactly.
It's like it's the same thing.
But if it's a white boy raping somebody, they put up his high school pictures. Like when
you can go into school and shoot 17 people, and they're just walking you out.
Yeah, they say this troubled child.
Yeah, and I was playing a video game today, and the killer, they were like, it's a serial killer. He's white. He's intelligent. Right. Very calm. Right. And determined. And it's like, what great adjectives to give a freaking serial killer. Right. You know what I'm saying? But that's what voodoo, the same thing. Mm-hmm. That's
the point of this whole thing, is to make us aware of the terminology that's used to describe us, and that we use to describe ourselves, because a lot of black people can recognize that white people look at black people through the lens of mass media. Right. And that's not an accurate depiction. But what they don't realize is that black people look at black people through the same lens in this country. Like we're afraid to be in the hood. We're afraid of our own people. We have that same fear. Right. So it affects us the same way. But jumping back real quick, I wanted to talk to you specifically about your ideas on religion, because I think to me it was really interesting that in Haiti, in most of the slave colonies, they tried to force people to be Christian. Right. And while I'm not I do believe in. I have a spiritual thing I believe in, but
Right.
I'm not atheist. But I definitely don't subscribe to any one religion.
Right.
But Christianity to me is just, it seems real. It's like the perfect religion for a slave. Like you're it's like,
dog, man, life is real fucked up for you right here.
Now, right.
But if you accept my man, you're going to have eternal. That is the biggest marketing scheme ever.
It's great. It's great for slavery.
Great.
Yeah.
It's great for slavery. It's great for control.
Right.
It's great for one group of people.
Right.
And it ain't even for the people that believe in it.
Nope.
It's like,
it's for the people that behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
I mean, like the history of it is crazy. But how do you think that affects us now?
Oh man, I think it's what's killing us. Honestly, and it's going to keep us divided.
Mm-hmm.
Because people will always choose that to use that is their moral compass,
mm-hmm.
right? So, I always tell people as a gay black woman, man, I got it difficult out here because not only am I black, I'm a woman, and I'm gay, and black people are some of the most homophobic
That's very true.
people, especially in America, anywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah, everywhere.
And a lot of that is from slavery and how they treated us, because people, and then what kills me is because of Christianity, we've taught it like Africans weren't homosexuality is a white thing.
Yeah, like that's crazy.
That's insane. That is insane.
That's
okay. They were doing things in Africa also.
Right. Everywhere.
Okay. It has nothing to do with that. But that's what's keeping us divided, because people like me and you who don't have a connection to a formal religion, we're going to see things a lot different than somebody who connects to a formal religion and lives their lives by a book. So, and that's what's killing us politically.
Right.
So until we figure out that you were fed something on your
and that's the interesting thing to me, is that like Christianity, right? I think any religion done properly has the ability to be a positive.
Sure.
But
we're so far in on Christianity that you can't even like.
Well, because I mean, like I've been everywhere. I've met Louis Farrakhan. I grew up. My grandfather built a church, so I come from a Christian background, as most Black Americans do. I've gone to Jewish temple. I've been everywhere. I've looked at everything. I even studied it in college. And I think there's more similarities than there are differences in the main message, but people don't focus on the main message. That's the crazy thing.
They've added.
Yeah, they add these. They look at these weird little parts and they focus on them. It's like it makes no sense, and it does more. I think it does right now. I think it's doing more harm than good.
Yeah, it always has.
Yeah,
it really always has, because you're talking how many hundreds of years we are in since since Paul created the Catholic Church.
Right.
We're so far after that time period. They have completely. I mean, think about it. Louis C.K., the comedian, he said one time, "What year is it?"
Right.
They won. Like Christians won. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Like, what year is it right now? We go by their calendar.
Right, we go by that calendar.
So,
but the thing that's interesting is, and that people don't realize, they won. The people that put Christianity in place were already winning.
They were already winning.
Like Christianity was chosen, and I think the part of the reason it was chosen was because it's good for keeping people like to satisfy people. Hopeful and for a better life in the afterlife. I think that's why it was chosen.
And that's why slaves accepted it.
Well, I think slaves were forced to accept it.
They were forced to accept it, but over generations, it just becomes instilled.
Well, it became the thing, because I mean, if you're not aware of anything else,
that's it.
That's how you grew up. That's just like a lot of people don't even think about like, for example, the flag with only like a circle. Right. That's not how most Americans think of the flag. That was their initial flag. Right. But we grew up looking at the 50-star flag. And they won't even add anybody. We have provinces, they won't add it because they don't want to change the flag, because it became such a symbol. And I think that symbolism is very important. And I think that's where we're at with religion. Like they don't know anything else. Like for so many generations, like there was. And
that you had that excuse, but you don't have that excuse anymore.
Now we don't have. Now you have to search and do your own research and find out. Because I mean, we have so many tools. And that brings me to the next thing I want to talk about. Social media and the power of social media, or the disadvantage of social media. Like How do you view, like, because I'll let you talk about it and then I'll chime in.
I mean, social media has made the world small.
Mm-hmm.
So getting information is really what's going to keep us from being ignorant. Because when we were ignorant, that's when we became complacent and things could slide up under the rug. But now with social media, as fast as you get news, it keeps us out there. But the problem is organizing via social media, you're just putting a target on your back and you're never going to get it done because the powers that be have more power than you to shut it down.
Right.
So it's like, at some point we have to balance the social media and back to word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Back to actual physical get-togethers.
Right.
As opposed to just trying to do everything through social media. I mean, it's a great place for music as far as
you need
promoting.
It. I mean, you need it for so many businesses. I mean, like one of the companies me and my boy Ryan got is social media marketing. Like we create content for businesses. But I look at social media almost like when Einstein was working on nuclear energy.
Right.
Like he was not trying to create a bomb.
Right.
He was working on creating an energy source.
Right.
And it became misused.
Right.
Because I think the purpose of, like, the way social media could be used as a tool is great. You can share information across the world.
Right.
It does make the world smaller. It brings like-minded people together, but
it can also do both.
Yeah, it can bring anyone together.
I've had a lot of fights.
Right, you can bring anyone together. I mean, like, I look at, like, to me, the epitome of this is the flat earth movement.
Right.
Like, these people would be shunned in regular society, but online they find their community and they become emboldened.
Right.
And they begin to believe these, conspiracy theories and all these crazy beliefs that the world is flat. And that's just because social media makes them feel powerful.
Right.
They're able to find their a weird community based on anything, or in the incel movement, which is happening now, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like and so you look at that side of social media and it's scary.
Right.
I think, like, I mean, you look at the rise of Trump and the rise of conservatism or Nazism, fascism, and it's not just here in America. Like, it's worldwide.
It's worldwide, yeah.
There's a movement to the right, and I think part of that is because they are more easily swayed by propaganda.
Yes.
And social media allows propaganda to spread like wildfire. So it's a double-edged sword.
But it's almost like, to me, these are still things that have been going on through times. It's just changed to keep up with the times, right?
Mm-hmm.
So before, it could be a wanted poster of a black man because he looked at a white girl.
Right.
You know what I mean? And people will now believe, oh, I have to lock my doors because there's Negroes outside.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now we're going to spread that around town. So it's no different now. Now, the one thing I find interesting is that these algorithms, you would think, like, with all these white folks calling the cops on people, right?
Right.
If I saw that as a white person, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
But they're still doing it.
Right.
But then that's got me thinking, their algorithm isn't showing this.
Yeah, they're not seeing that.
They're not. Barbecue Becky didn't see us at Black Twitter roasting her.
Right. They're not seeing it. She don't see that.
That's not in her algorithm.
Right.
So they're going to continue
to do it. And that's what my point. That's my point. Like, it creates a bubble.
Right.
Like, everyone sees what they already see.
Right.
Like,
You're just preaching to the choir.
Right. Everyone's preaching to the choir. There's no outreach, or there's nothing to challenge your viewpoint in social media.
No.
And then you go out into the world and believe these things because this is what you look at all day.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why it's dangerous.
That is dangerous.
Because you have these people that wholeheartedly believe these falsehoods.
Right.
And they're reinforcing it every day with the more they look at it, instead of, challenge. And people, the interesting thing now is people will do that to themselves. Like, if you have a disagreement with somebody online about something that you're passionate about, you block them. I tell people all the time, like, people will be in my comments talking crazy, and people will be like, Kyle, just block this person. I'm like, no.
Right.
They need to see it. Their friends need to see them talking about this.
Right.
Like, they need to see this conversation. I want to see what they're talking about.
Right.
And I don't block anybody unless you're talking, like, death threats. Like,
right.
That's when I'm like, all right, you're too far. But if, like, I'll give you a couple comments to try to give you a different point of view, because that is necessary to actually change minds.
Exactly.
You can't just sit in the echo chamber and think that you're doing anything.
Right. One of my best friends and producers, Matt Voisemer, he's like the standard for a white person for me. Mm-hmm. If you don't meet his level, I write you off.
Right.
So he's also come up with, like, ways that he goes into his own family Because that's what he says. It's like, I have to be the guy.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be
I
white
gotta
people.
go talk to my cousin that's out in Long Island that's racist as hell.
Right.
And I gotta go talk to him. It's his problem. It's not my problem. Because
Right.
I can't change this man. But he has the power to go change that
Right.
man. So that's where we also need those white allies.
Have to have them.
You know, people like, I want this to be an all-black space, and then a white ally wants to come, you want to shun them out. Well, no, you cannot shun them out because they're the ones that's got to go back into their communities and fix their community.
Right.
They're not going to listen to us.
That's true.
And
Now,
preaching to the choir, I mean, geez.
I do want to say this. One of the things I'm a big proponent of is, like I mentioned earlier, black ownership.
Yeah.
And, you know, black businesses. And I think the real key for us right now is black wealth.
Yeah.
Like building our own community, that so we don't have to rely so much on other communities
Right.
for jobs, for loans, for, you know, the basic essentials to survive in America.
Right.
We don't have the infrastructure to do that right now.
Right.
I think we're finally at a point in time when we have enough wealthy blacks and you know, people that are doing okay, that we can start to build that.
Right.
Not to be exclusive, but I do think that we need to, I think our focus needs to be more inward than outward right now.
But look at the history again.
All right.
Black Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
Think about when our parents were kids.
Right.
Who taught your parents? Black folks.
Right.
They were the main teachers. My
Right.
grandmother taught school here. Every black child was pretty much taught by black teachers.
Right.
Before segregation,
Right.
we was doing just fine.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot more people graduating from HBCUs.
Yep.
Our HBCUs were doing well.
Yeah. Had no choice.
You had no choice.
Right.
You know what I mean? But now
but it-
HBCUs are so poorly funded.
Yeah.
They're reaching out to other communities to get students.
Right.
So I agree with you. Black wealth, black education,
Well, that's what I'm
doing
saying.
it
I think
inward is
we
the
have
only
to,
way.
I think we have to, like before it was forced.
It was forced, but now it's not forced.
And I think like when they you know, when they opened the doors and said, oh, well, you know, there's no more segregation.
people just went.
People
it's
said,
like, oh,
yeah, we out.
get
We
your
gonna
brother.
move. Right.
Right.
Like if you had the
Yeah.
if you had the financial ability to move, you
It
did.
was out.
And what happened was
You left your
you
brothers
left
behind.
you left everyone, and they didn't have the resources to own those places.
No.
So
The cities came
in and built, and now we have no place.
No
But I
place.
think now we have to change the mindset and create safe, not even safe havens, but just communities. We have to build communities for ourselves that, you know, have black teachers, have black doctors. I mean, you know, I was lucky enough to live down the street from your uncle,
Right.
who's he's a great black man. Like he's a doctor. He does a lot for the community. And but that was rare where I
Right.
grew up. Like
Right.
we were all minorities, like
Right.
super minorities.
Right.
Like it was like almost no. Now it's a little bit different, but
Right.
I think that we all need to get together, and that's one of the things I wanted to do with this project is change that mindset. Because I mean, I'm all for getting the money, but once you get it, like, what do you do with it? Like,
Right.
don't stop spending on ridiculous chains and
Clothes
cars and stuff.
shoes.
Like, invest in a bank.
Right.
Like invest, or invest in a business, a black business, or like, there's so many other ways to do that. And I do feel like that movement is coming along.
It's slowly coming along, but it could go a little faster because we do have a lot of black people in position to do some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that there's only one national black bank
Mm-hmm.
and there's 0 actual locations for it
Right.
anywhere except for like LA,
Mm-hmm.
which is one United Bank. It's pretty sad when we
Yeah.
have black folks with some money that could pull some money together and do some things. I mean, but I agree with you. We do need to build a community. We do need to do for ourselves and depend on others less because everybody's benefiting off of us.
Right.
We
We're
work to just
we're worth $1
spend our
trillion.
money.
Right.
We work, the average household, what? In the city of Philly, what do you think the average household makes
don't
here?
know. It's
30,
going- yeah,
35,000
35,000,
maybe?
yeah.
It's just poverty.
Right.
When you really think about it, something's got to give.
Right.
Something's got to give. And
Well, part of it is like, when these companies do move in, like we're not the first people to hire.
no.
So I mean, that's because we're not in positions of power.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, black wealth is big, and I do think I think part of the reason it's not as popular yet is because the people that people look up to haven't been doing it. But like, I think that's also changing. Like, if you look at the culture of look at Michael Jordan versus LeBron.
Right.
Like at the era. Like LeBron is much more conscious than Michael Jordan.
Absolutely.
And I think that reflects in how people are starting to look at things.
Right.
Like he's more community minded, so that makes, because that's who kids look up to. You can't change who kids are gonna look up to.
Right.
Like it's always gonna be musicians, it's always gonna be athletes.
Yeah, right,
it's always gonna be like, you know, quote unquote the cool kids. Like that's what people want to do. We've always first of all, we've always dictated culture.
Exactly. Art always does.
Yeah. What we do always is the cool thing for American culture. Like American culture be super bland without us. Like
right.
So
which is funny when they gentrify our neighborhoods. It's like, what's going to happen when we're all gone?
Yeah,
This joint going to be bland again.
It's going to be bland.
You'll follow us out to wherever we're at then.
Yep, that's what's going to happen. But yeah, I think that's why we need more people in positions of influence to speak on these things and to show what they're doing. And I think that's coming. Yeah,
I mean with the Kendricks and the J. Coles, they're doing it. And I actually appreciate Kendrick. Did you see that concert he did where he had the white girl up on stage?
Oh yeah.
And he was like, "Can you do it without?"
Right.
You know, but I think that's good for them to see.
Right.
Because that happens to me on a regular basis. I'm telling people.
I tweeted about that. That was like my most viral tweet. I had so many responses to that. And people were getting like it was crazy. Like they were like, "Well, I don't understand this in the song. If you put in the song, it's like, no, you don't." I don't know what's complicated about it.
I don't know what's complicated either.
It's not that hard. Like we can say it. We took ownership of that word. Y'all can't say it.
Now listen, if you want to, give me some reparations, you want to figure this out.
Oh yeah.
You know
you gonna sell the word back?
I mean, listen.
She's gonna.
But y'all started this relationship poorly. You wanna keep using the word in negative ways.
Right.
At the same time, and then no. See, we gotta talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
No.
We can't. I mean, that's part of the thing. Like we can't. We're gonna give you the benefit of the doubt that you mean it friendly.
Yeah, no, that's not enough. I need some land.
40 acres. 40 acres.
40 acres and a Fiat. You see what I'm saying?
Right. That's pretty funny. So I did want to talk to you about your experience. Being gay and black in America, because I feel like the black community has so far to go.
So far.
In terms of.
Those are the most unsafe spaces I ever feel.
Really?
Straight, black.
Yeah.
Hood too.
That's crazy.
Most unsafe.
Now, what do you think we can do to change that? And where do you think that comes from?
Toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's all sorts of things. So like, when they were trying to brainwash black men in the West Indies, they were raping them, right? So there's always some sort of negative association with homosexuality from there, right? And just over time, like we said, religion.
Right.
Religion's played a big part in that. But even now, I still feel the most comfortable when I'm surrounded in a multicultural, LGBT friendly setting, or even in a white setting as a gay person, not as a black. I'm not gonna put the both together. Right. But as a gay person. But when you're around a bunch of dudes that may feel intimidated, I don't know if it's intimidation. I don't know. I've never been able to figure it out because I'm just living. Right. I didn't choose anything. I'm just living. It's gotten better over the years. Philly's rough though. A lot of trans people lose their lives in Philly.
That's crazy.
A lot of people have rough times in Philly.
See, I always try to get to the origin of things because I think like when you get to the why of something, then you can really start to figure out how to fix it. And I do think that there's a sense of that toxic masculinity. Yeah. Is heavy in the black community, but I think a lot of it comes from the need to
prove oneself.
Yeah, to prove your worth, or to feel worthy. Yeah. Not even just to feel like you're worth something. You do all this posturing.
Genetically, you're supposed to be inferior because over this amount of time, that's what they've taught black men.
Even though.
So there's a little overcompensating when we're within our own community. Right.
Even though I feel like all of racism is based on a genetic inferiority complex. Yes. That's like going back to the why. I think that's where it originates from. Okay. I mean, if you look at any major sport, the brown people are dominating. Yeah. And I think,
France,
for example, or if you look at, when you have an interracial couple, it usually looks like the colored person. Right? It takes on those traits that are dominant, and I think that is the origin of all of this racial hatred. Like that internal drive to have your offspring and your legacy, you know, be familiar to yourself.
Right.
Which, I mean, I don't think is a conscious thing. I don't think, like, you know, racists think that. Even though I'm not sure, though, because, like, I always feel like, you know, the Klan used to say, like, we don't mix.
Right.
But that was a self-preservation thing. I feel like more than it was it became a hatred thing, but I think it's more, I think it's all mixed up. Definitely. But going back to what I was saying, I think that, you know, like black people we are told we're inferior. We are told that we have no value constantly through, you know, the killings, the news, you know, everything. The way they educate you. Like, so I think that as a rebuttal, we posture. Right. And we take these hard stances and we act like, you know, any sign of weakness, which is sexist in itself to think that, you know, feminine trait is weak. Right. But like that's really what it comes down to. It's like, you know, if I'm acting like a girl, if I'm crying, you're a girl. You're a girl, and that's weak. Or, you know, if you like pink is a soft color. Like the idea of being soft.
All this, gender bias situations. So like, the funny thing is, I drive Lyft, and I had a passenger one day, this brother, and we were having a very, you know, socially active conversation. And then it took a turn, and he started talking about homosexuality and how, you know, he doesn't feel like it's a good thing, and that, you know, if he owned a business, he wouldn't serve gay people, and it was okay. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gay, and today I don't feel like serving you, sir, because you're straight. So I turned off this app, I canceled the ride, and put his ass out. Since, you know, because the one thing I hate the most is when I see a black person discriminate on anything else. Right. Like, you have enough to deal with as a black person. How dare you? Right. We should be we should be the most accepting community. The most accepting. Right. But when I see that, I'm like, bruh.
It makes no sense to me either.
So let me show you how it feels.
But I think maybe I have no I don't understand it, so I'm just guessing. But I think, like you said, I think maybe it's threatening.
Yes.
I think there's a threat there to. I really don't understand it. I
don't either. But, you know, sometimes I'm like, are you in fear of the population or something?
Yeah, like I don't know what the fear is.
Because we have enough people. We're not hecking human. I don't know what the fear is. Yeah. Or, you know, when someone is overly homophobic, I think they're fighting something within themselves. Yeah, that's in themselves. I think. Like, it's like you manage yourself. Yeah, you might need to go to a gay club one time. you chill and relax. Right. But yeah, I don't know what the origin of it is, but I do think that I know, like, I hear a lot of you know, quote unquote woke black people who a lot of times are very homophobic. They'll say things like, look at how the LGBT community took, you know, the black movement and jumped past it. Now, I do think that... Well, they did.
I know they did, but I do think that... But the reason for that is...
They have white people in them.
Right. The
and
reason
gay
is that,
white men are rich as hell.
Well, yeah, there's multiple reasons for that. Like, it's like, you know, in a family, right? If your brother is gay, it immediately connects you to somebody gay. So now you're like, well, gayness is not this evil thing. It's my brother. Right. But they don't, like, you're not gonna know black people. Like, if you see a black person, what's gonna make you just go talk to them? Like, if you're not black. Right. Like, why would you do that? Yeah. It's different. They're not in your community. It's not gonna just pop up at any time. So, I mean, that is one reason that movement was more, what happened faster. Right. But I don't think that, I feel like they act like, you know, the LGBT, and I do think that the LGBT community needs to be more inclusive of especially black women. Because, I mean, black women, you know, have always been the catalyst of almost every movement. Yeah. And the backbone of every movement. And a lot of times, you guys get left out, the most, which is crazy. Yeah. But I don't think that they intentionally said we're gonna jump past black people. Like, I don't think that was ever the concept. It's just happened faster. But when you know, for instance, gay marriage is legal because of literally one gay couple from Ohio. Right. Billionaires. Right. They're billionaire white men, so they have money, they have influence. You gotta have somebody backing. You have to have somebody backing. So until the black community gets somebody big enough to back them with their dollars, like they did,
you know, because money talks.
Money does talk. Money changes a lot of things.
Money changes a lot of things, and that's really all that they care about is the money. At the end of the day, the race is just the facade they put on over all of us.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. I mean, if you're talking about, you know, like the 1%ers, like they're only concerned with their bottom line and keeping things the way they are, so they can keep making their money the way they make it. But
while the rest of us,
but so many people believe, end up really believing in that race stuff. Yeah. Or right now it's, you know, I mean, it's race and immigrant stuff. Like, you believe that, and that's the most frustrating thing. It's like you're in the same group as us right now. Like, you don't got no money either. Right. like what are you doing?
Your healthcare is at stake. What are you talking about?
What is wrong with you?
But that's been that community's problem voting the whole time, is they voted against their own interests because of religious beliefs too,
religious
like
beliefs,
that evangelical group
that
of
anti-abortion, telling women what to do with their bodies, and
it's like, listen, if that's what you want to do, I don't have no problem.
Well, see, that's the thing. And the funny thing is, they're always like, "Oh, this is a free country. Yeah, you know, you can say what you want to do."
But you're not letting me be free.
But you're not letting people be free. Like, you're voting for things that take away people's freedom. Yeah,
they're strict. Yeah, so that's why those people, like those white allies, they got to go fix those people. Those are the people that need serious fixing.
Yeah. So, you know, we talked about a lot, but if you could, you know, focus it into something that someone could do, what would you tell somebody to do, like today or tomorrow?
Today, well, my real opinion is much more complicated because I don't think it's fixable. Okay. Within every era of life, there's been oppressed people, and you know, unless you get a Moses to separate the Red Sea and free the slaves, you know what I mean? That's just the era that you live in. And I think in this era, this is just what it is. Now, how people can better is education. It starts there. Like, I don't like to be around any children and let them know what's up. And real facts, you know what I mean? Spreading real news about, like you said, Africa, about Black wealth, Black Wall Street, our history, musically, art. You know what I mean? I need every little kid to know who Basquiat was. You know what I mean? I need them to know who Billie Holiday is, Marcus Garvey, and so on. But there's no immediate fix. You gotta be in for the long haul, because changing people is the hardest thing to do. Even when you're in your own personal relationships, when you first start dating, there's always something you want to change. That don't happen easy. So you're talking about centuries of a way people think. And I'm talking about a people that have raped and killed their own family to be king. These are their offspring, generations later. So this is not an easy fix. This isn't and you can't keep turning the other cheek. Turn the other cheek crap.
It's over.
That's what Christianity messed us up, because it taught us forgiveness.
Well, I actually,
I'm sorry,
you know, I think that we, again, going back to what I said, the root of it was being not having a genetic inferiority complex, right. It's almost like, to me, it's a lot like being an older brother. When you look at it, it's like, you know, we don't have that same thing. We don't feel the same way. We don't see the poison coming, because we're like, we wouldn't do that. Like, that's not.
It's not in our DNA.
Yeah, it's not in us to do that.
No, but it is in theirs. So in order to play the game, you can't play the game your way.
We have to recognize that the game is being. We have to
recognize
the
game has changed. So
it's like being, it's like Jon Snow in Game of Thrones. Exactly. Like, you start off being naive. If you survive this long, you gotta be like, yo, I'll kill you.
I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, I'm not letting this.
This is not gonna be.
Happen.
Yeah.
So you got, at some point, you have to fight back. The turn the other cheek stuff has to stop.
Like did you see the brother on the subway?
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Or the guy. Did you see the video of the guy that was not letting the guy cut the line? He tried to.
Yeah.
I really feel like, and I've been saying this for a couple of years. Our generation, right? We grew up thinking that things were equal. We grew up looking at, going to the same class.
The rug from under me.
We grew up thinking that everything was good. The civil rights movement did its job.
I'm sitting in class with white kids.
We're sitting in class, we're learning the same stuff. Like, all this stuff was in the past. We're good. We just gotta focus on ourselves. And then, boom, like you said, They yanked the rug, and now we see that America has a lot of work to do, a lot of progress to be made. But we're not having that because we still feel the same way. It's like you're not gonna talk to me crazy. I'm not no second-class citizen.
No, I'm not.
Like we don't feel that way, and we're not gonna act that way. And I think that's a good thing.
Right.
I think that's one of the, because to me the difference isn't gonna be that.
That's what they've been afraid of this entire time since they freed us. It's like, okay, we freed them, they gotta retaliate, right?
Right.
And then everybody's, no, we turning the other cheek forever. So now they've gotten very used to y'all turning the other cheek.
Right.
But now if you stop that, people will stop. Right.
Well, yeah, that's the other fear, is that, we're going to come out, we're going to try to get power and just start trying to do the same things that they did. But that's not even what...
It's not in our
that's
DNA.
Too much. Yeah, that's
too far.
That's too far. There's no point to that. But what we do need to do is build a community where we... Because we don't have any influence. Like, we make all these political demands, but why would they listen?
Right.
We don't have no influence. Like, there's not that many people that are part of the NRA, but they have so much money and influence.
Right.
So it's really, at the end of the day, like you said, about money.
Right. Money at the end of the day.
It's true. I think the first step people need to take is to educate themselves about what is going on, the true history of themselves. Because I think that's where it starts. Is understanding that you're not just a descendant of a slave. Like you're
a descendant from much more than that.
Yeah, much more than that. Like for you to be here, it takes a lot more. And even surviving through slavery is not something you should be ashamed of.
No.
Not something that you should be ashamed of for your ancestors for being.
At all.
Like the amount of strength it took to survive that is something that hopefully no one will ever know again.
Exactly, and they don't. They can't survive it.
Right.
Which is exactly why education. Follow those steps, education, and then supporting our own and building our within.
So. Talk to me about your concept of black love.
It's broken. It's been broken, and I don't know if you've read Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome.
I haven't.
Definitely read that, because Dr. Joy DeGroy talks about it in there, and it's like when you broke down the black man in a different way than you had to break down the black woman, and it's created two different people in today's society. Okay. So that's where communication is off. Mm-hmm. That's where you start seeing when black men, this guy just posted the other day, he wished black women did more like the white girls. And it's like, what is that?
Yeah, like, well, I don't know what that meant.
But that's part of the brainwashing that had to go on, because in order to affect your home, they had to break you up. They couldn't have a family unit. They couldn't have a man and a woman, or a woman and a woman, or whoever, because even in the lesbian community, black love is broken.
Really?
Yes, it's broken on all levels. Like,
that's crazy.
The love is broken. Like, I don't think we really know how to love. Like, we need therapy.
Yeah, we do.
And we're scared of therapy.
We do.
So until
we don't trust doctors.
No, we don't trust.
But that's, we have a history of it, but we don't trust medicine. But to some extent, of course you have to do your research, but we have to begin, getting some therapy, going to see doctors, taking care of our health care, because we are the most, PTSD group, like massive group of people.
Yes, man, it's traumatizing what has happened,
it's
man. It's
crazy, and we've never dealt with it.
We just pass it on, man. Like we just give it to our offspring, and they give it to theirs, and it just keeps going. Like, one thing she talked about in the book is like, when you're a little kid, right, and you're out in public with your parents, and you misbehave, your mom look at you crazy, and because you can't do that. Well, why do you do that? Because when slaves had children, if you did too much and made too much notice to yourself, you could be sold off, you could be beat, something could happen. So I can't have you acting out. And we carry this on today, but then you'll see white kids in the store and acting crazy, and you looking like, they need to beat that, It's like, why do we do these things? And love took a major hit in deconstructing us to be who they needed us to be. We could not love the way we needed to love. Which starts with self-love.
Right. You have to learn how to love yourself.
Because if I can't love myself, I can't love you.
Right.
So until, that's another big thing to fixing this. It's fixing black love. Because until black love is fixed, I don't know that if you can't love yourself, you can't love your brother.
That's very true. Self-healing, therapy and figuring out, again, goes back to what I'm saying. Why? Why do you yell at your kid that way?
Right.
Why are you why are you embarrassed of your kid in public?
Right.
Why do you treat your partner that way? Why do you treat yourself that way?
Right.
Like, you have to analyze, that self-analysis has to occur for you to truly heal.
Right.
And we don't do that in the community. We
No.
don't do that in our community, and I think that's major what you just said. Like, I think we do have to fix. In fixing black love, you fix yourself.
Right. You have to fix yourself.
You have to love yourself first.
You have to know what you come from.
I really can't stand like when people be talking that, you know, that black women are less than crap. Though.
Yeah, I can't.
Because
can't do it either.
I mean, like, to me, you can love whoever you want to love.
Yeah,
like, I'm
I
not
don't
like
care.
if you fall in love with a white girl and it's real love, like
That's
that's
fine.
fine, whatever. But don't down
A group of women,
people,
right.
a group of people for what?
Especially when that's what your mother
that's,
looked like.
Yeah, like that's crazy to me.
Your grandmother? Are you kidding?
Like that's crazy to me to,
Yeah, I don't
to
like
say
it
that because it's completely illogical. It means you've completely bought into this stereotype and this lie that they've been telling you. And I mean, to me, you know, there's no stronger group of women than black women historically. Like this,
Right.
they've
been
through,
everything.
been through so much and
Yeah.
still survived and held the families together. So it's just a ridiculous statement. It really hurts to see other black men say those kind of things. Like,
Right.
I don't understand it.
Me neither.
It's just
Because
ridiculous.
at the very core, I don't understand it because your mother's black.
Right.
At the end of the day, and
Right.
if
How
you
do
have
say that?
sisters, how
Right.
do you say that?
They're black.
They're
Like,
black.
Yeah, like
I don't know. It's, yeah.
yeah, that's ridiculous. But I think that's a good step. I think that's a major step is fixing black love. I think.
Stop
And we
being
haven't-
afraid to go to therapy. It's a good thing.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that. We haven't talked about that yet. It's good. Yeah. I really did want to talk to that more. I mean, I guess I should have talked about it with guys, but most of the guys are older.
They need it too.
They do too. They
Black
do.
older black men are a major issue, man. They're still stuck in life in the 50s, yo.
Yeah, people get stuck in generations.
Yeah, man. It's like that's why I love Miles Davis so much because Miles changed every decade,
yeah,
man.
he
Like
constantly changed.
he constantly changed, even to do a horrible hip hop record.
Right.
Like it was horrible, but at
Right.
least he tried.
He's trying, yeah.
You know
Well,
what I'm
I mean,
saying?
that's the thing about art or artists. Like you have to, or people in general, you have to evolve.
Right.
You have to push yourself though.
Right.
Like you're gonna change for better or for worse, but if you're not focusing on it, it's gonna be for worse.
Exactly.
Like, you know, being look at it like being fit. You're gonna change weight.
Right.
Or you might if you want to stay the same way, you have to work at that.
Exactly.
But it's gonna be one way or the other. And if you're not
Exactly.
paying attention to it, it's not gonna be what you want.
Exactly.
So, and Miles Davis is a great example of an artist. I mean, I think Prince was like that too.
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder, you know, they were always searching for something different.
Right. Herbie.
Yeah, Herbie Hancock, you know, he's still relevant.
Still.
Like,
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I was saying earlier, man. It makes me sad when little kids don't know who these people are and they're still relevant.
right.
You know, like
Quincy's
Quincy's still relevant.
Jones, yeah.
You know.
Quincy, I mean, his arc is crazy.
The fact that Prince and Michael are dead
Right, that's crazy.
it's still crazy to
It's
me.
still, like, I still forget.
Yeah.
I forget that.
Especially when you got Mike on a Drake record.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's because, you know, it's hard to let people let that go. I mean, like, because they should be here.
They should be here, but that's what I'm saying. We gotta. All these children that are born post their deaths need to know.
Right.
Like I don't want people to not educate their kids in who Michael was, because
Right.
Smooth Criminal is still one of the baddest music videos ever.
Every video he did.
Every
video
video.
he did. Yo,
Moonwalker.
Moonwalker, that
We
whole
used to go.
project.
Remember, we used to be in the basement in
Yeah,
Voorhees watching it all the time.
the whole Moonwalker movie. Yeah.
It's classic.
Look, it's true, man. We gotta start playing these records that you grew up on for these kids.
Yeah, but the best thing about the music industry now is that more things are accessible.
Mm-hmm.
So like when we were growing up, you pretty much only had what was on the radio to choose from.
Right.
Like you didn't really learn about the obscure,
Right.
rare band
Until
out
you-
of
yeah.
Kansas
Right,
that's
right.
killing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now it's like, yo, I can listen to anybody,
Anything.
anywhere,
Right.
and I don't have to support Top 40 if I
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah, you can listen. You can put any. It's more free than ever. There's no rules. You can put anything out.
Right.
You can, you know, find any group that you want to listen to, or any kind of style you want to listen to. But it's also more saturated than ever,
Yes.
which I think, you know, is a good thing.
I do too.
I think there's a lot of garbage, but I think that it allows.
It's easier to sift through the garbage.
But you can find your own, as being an artist, you can find your own fan base. You can cultivate your own fan base.
Right.
So like, I was having this conversation with my dad. He was like, you know, he doesn't think that, you know, they'll ever. I agree. I don't think they're ever gonna be a star like Michael Jackson again. I think like we're reaching the heights of like, you know, Drake is big, Bruno Mars is big, but I don't think we're gonna see that for much longer because it's gonna be like what's happening is like with Netflix.
Right.
Like TV ratings overall are dropping. Like you'll have a successful show that most people know about, but everybody doesn't watch This Is Us, even though it's huge. Like,
right.
People watch whatever they want to watch.
And win.
Right, yeah. But so that means more shows will win, but just not on the same scale.
Right.
So there's more, like the piece of the pie that there is, like more people are getting slices.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a good thing for art and for artists. It's just, you know, the idea of being a mega pop star is, you know, decreasing.
Which is not a bad thing.
Right.
Because
that's what I was saying.
At this point, if you're going to give me some of these people to replace Michael, I'm good on them, you know?
Well,
like,
there's no replacing Mike. There's no replacing Mike.
They tried.
There's no replacing Mike.
But he already set a precedent, so I don't know how you can... I mean, Beyonce's
huge, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah. But like, look at where Drake and Beyonce came from. They came from the era.
Michael.
Well, they do, but I'm saying like the era-wise, right? They came from an era before streaming.
Okay.
Like, what artist from the streaming era has the potential to be as big as them?
None. And the bad part is these new cats, they've just released singles.
Right. Well, they don't.
So they don't even release projects. So their touring is down. Like they're never gonna.
Right.
Yeah. So. And
so,
they screwed us with the.
And that's. I mean, but that's. I think that we'll figure that part out because I do think that there are artists like, I mean, there's underground art like Tory Moi. He has a good touring track record. I mean, Gambino puts out projects and.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're touring, you're doing it.
Or even Chance, like Chance will put out. I mean, there are artists that do it without that, but as big as Chance is, he's not as big as Drake, and that's just due to when he came out. Like but he has an audience that will support everything he does.
Right.
Or Tyler the Creator and the Odd Future.
Only need like what, 1 million followers?
Yeah, like if you have 1 million people worldwide,
that's
you're good. You can make a living, a good living off that.
Yeah.
So and that's my point. Like you know, like Michael Jackson had about 3 billion fans. Like it's like the whole world would know who Michael Jackson was.
Which is true.
We're not gonna have a star like that. No. But that's all right.
Yeah, it's better for more musicians as opposed to it being a smaller group of people that get to become successful.
Right.
So
that's
it's a give and take.
It became
streaming is still hard on the pockets.
It is. Streaming is not the best. The way it pays is not the best, but it does provide direct access to your community. But touring is up. So.
Right. Touring is up.
Touring is up big. So I mean, if you can, put together a good live show.
Right. And that's really where my musical focus is, making sure my live show is up there, because selling CD records is just too freaking hard these days. It's like visuals, live shows.
Right. Gotta have those.
Yeah.